Until I'm burning in hell, we morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friday. Holy shikeys. It's been a week. I was talking with BeardSec in the green room. One of the things I said to him was I was like, hey, I got Monday off. I was like, I don't really understand this holiday, but sure, I'll take it off because you know what? It's a holiday and I'll take a holiday off. No big deal. This week has proved to me why I'm grateful when holidays sneak up on me, because I have quite literally been in back-to-back meetings every freaking day this week. It has been absolutely bonkers. So cheers to a Friday. Cheers to a Friday that reminds you why you have holidays and to be grateful for those holidays, because I surely was grateful for that holiday on Monday. Speaking of, if you didn't see in Discord, second place on the tournament on Sunday. Super excited about that. I was super excited about it, not because it was second place, but because it was absolutely miserable. Absolutely miserable. It rained from the time it was raining on the drive down. It was an hour or so drive down to the golf course. I got there, I practiced, things like that, and I got ready to go play, and it rained from the first swing on the first tee box till I turned in my scorecard. I turned in my scorecard practically, you ever had a piece of paper that's like all wet and everything when you when you get it wet and it's like all coming apart? That's like the status of my scorecard when I turn in my scorecard. But hey, still took second place with all that going on, so I'll take it. I got another one this weekend. We're going to be hanging out down near Fayetteville this weekend at a place called White Lake for another tournament this weekend. So happy Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. All right, so real quick, words are hard. It's Friday. Caffeine's still running through the system. Short stream today. I have a meeting in 1 hour. So I'm going to try to smash as much. If you have questions, get your questions in, because we only have an hour together today to stream. And then I've got to go right back into back-to-back meetings again today. So literally, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing today that I've been doing every other week, which is sit right here. I've got nothing done in terms of the fun stuff that I wanted to do this week. And so we're gonna smash through. I do have some updates, for some stuff that I did pull together for you. This is, some of the things that I found this week to share are actually pretty interesting in the sense of I found a salary negotiation cheat sheet that I want to share with everybody that I think could be pretty useful if you happen to decide that you want to change jobs this week, as well as a couple of other interesting tidbits and nuggets that I found for you guys this week that I want to share. And of course, it wouldn't be anything if I didn't really talk about AI in some way, shape, or form. So we're obviously going to talk about AI a little bit too. Yeah, I can skip that part. We'll see if there's any other questions. Maybe I'll skip the AI questions. I enjoyed your hot take on the AI cert money grab. Thank you, Wire Dog Sack. I appreciate it. Real quick, rules. Don't be toxic. Let's have fun. Let's have a good Friday. Boom. There's the rules. You got mods in chat. Be respectful to mods. Blah 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 blah. All right, cool. There's the rules briefing. Don't be an asshole. Right there you go. There's your rules briefing. You got 2.5 minutes over on Twitch if you want to get in on the hype train and get you some of those yummy new emotes. Thanks to everybody who resubbed during the commercial break to get the hype train started. BeardSec, Sonic, CyberSec, Mom, Callie. I appreciate all of it. Wire Dog Sec, what are your thoughts on the latest F5 hack / dumpster fire? Listen, if you thought I wasn't going to come prepared to talk about this F5 thing today, you are sorely mistaken. Absolutely 100%. Not surprised. Let's start with it, right? I think I remember talking years ago about getting you know, tone deaf, if you will, over breaches and vulnerabilities and things like that. I absolutely think that we have achieved full tone deafness. When it comes to vulnerabilities, when it comes to breaches and things like this, they were in there for over a year. And this is why, like, I absolutely remind folks that, like, you know, APT, right? True APT, like nation state level actors, you're not going to catch them. You are not good enough. You are not good enough to catch APT. You will not be, you will not be some leet sauce, you know, threat hunter sitting in your corporate cubicle, right? Doing your day-to-day job being like, oh my God, I think I just caught APT. You're not going to do that. These guys were in F5 for a year. Right? Right? So like I just remind folks, right? And listen, I was guilty of this when I came out of the Air Force. When I came to the Air Force, I thought I needed to be convinced that we as an enterprise should be focusing all of our efforts on finding APT, because that's what my focus was in the military, right? And then I realized that the outside world just isn't capable. They don't have what it takes. They don't have the mindset. They don't have the tooling. They don't have the time. They don't have the money. Right? They don't have what it takes to hunt APT, stop APT, or do anything with APT like the military does. Right? These guys have billions and billions of dollars. They have an infinite supply chain of hackers that can literally run things 24/7. They can run military ops 24/7. You can't even make it through the day without bitching about your cube, checking Reddit 4 times, complaining that you're not bringing enough shareholder value at the same time that you're not at home in your PJs because you're not on a 4-day work week. Like, most of you cyber folks bitch too much about the lack of comfortness in your day-to-day to even be equipped to catch APT, right? And then those of you who've chosen to outsource your freaking cybersecurity to some MDR, no, you guys aren't. So as this relates to the F5 thing, like I'm sure you could go back 5 years worth of streams. I have said it ad nauseum. We are in a cyber war every freaking day. Every day. Just because you don't see it on the news, just because you don't see it in the headlines, just because you don't have it in your measly little wannabe threat intelligence organization that you've got in your company, whatever the case is, right? Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that we aren't engaged in hand-to-hand cyber combat every freaking day. Every freaking day. Right? So that's, you called it exactly right. It's a dumpster fire. It is an absolute dumpster fire. Jason and I are going to talk more about this on Monday during the threat brief. We'll get into the details of how it happened, some of the speculations. Jason and I chatted a little bit yesterday about it, and, we've definitely got some hot takes on this, but I think the stance that I want to take today is like, it shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you. We're there. We are at that point where hacks are literally a part of our day-to-day existence. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What's that scene from Jurassic Park? Hey guys, it's Bob. Bob's here. See, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Cybersec Mom dropping the gifted subs. Thank you very much, Cybersec Mom. Right? What are you going to do? Here's the reason. Here's the reason I can joke about nobody caring. How many companies are going to walk into the CEO, the CIO, the IT director's office and say, we're ripping F5 out because of this act? Because they allowed APT, because they allowed the adversary in their network for a year, we're ripping F5 out. How many of you realistically think that's going to happen? Show me how disillusioned chat is right now. How many of you think that that is going to happen? Right? It's not going to happen. There's the shocker of it, right? It's not going to happen. Oh, you've been an F5 customer, for years. This was just an unfortunate incident. It's APT. Nobody can really stop it, Mr. CEO. Nobody can really stop it, Mr. CIO. It's just part of doing cyber on the internet. I can assure you it'll never happen again. Here's our resilience plan happening, blah, 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 blah. You know what? You're right. It's too much hassle. You front all of our web traffic and all of our data centers. It'd be a massive downtime. Right? God, it'd be $10 million to rip F5 out and put a new one in. Cloudflare's super expensive. You know what? Fine. You're right. We'll leave you in. Way more of a hassle to take you out and try to put something else in place. That's what you're up against in the defensive world, right? Because nobody is going to replace F5 over this. You're not going to see a podium up there with somebody standing up there and being like, screw F5, we ain't putting up with this. We're ripping F5 out, we're putting something else in. Right, I don't want to have to write new SOPs. I don't want to have to write new rules. I don't want to have to write new detections. I don't want to have to figure out how to log new stuff. Blah. There are more excuses than you could shake a stick at as to why enterprises will not do anything about this. And let me be straight. Right? Because there's some cyber nihilists who are like, well, that's why cyber needs to have a seat at the table. If you think cyber isn't right there with them making that decision, you're wrong. Right? Cyber is right there with them in 99% of those cases going, hey, it's APT. We wouldn't catch it. I couldn't expect F5 to catch it. We sure as hell wouldn't catch it. Cyber is right there with them. Everybody is culpable in the sense of do you rip out a vendor because of a cyber incident? And listen, here's the thing. Nobody wants to be the first customer. Let me explain this. Nobody wants to be the first customer that says, we're going to stop using your product because of a cyber incident. Do you know why? Because what if they get popped? And then everybody's like, I'm going to stop using your product because you had a cyber incident. The first group of companies that says, we're going to stop doing business with company A because of a cyber incident is putting a target on their back for other people to stop doing business with them when they get popped with a cyber incident. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be the hypocrite. I don't think you all realize sometimes we are in a massive narcissistic lying to each other relationship in cyber where people care, but they don't care, but nobody wants to admit that they'll stop using companies because of a cyber breach because they don't want people to stop using their stuff if they ever get popped with a cyber breach. Nothing is safe forever. And eCurve, this isn't a referendum on whether we should set an expectation to be set forever. This is exactly quite the opposite. That's what I'm advocating for is you guys need to stop, get your heads out of your asses thinking that you're going to stop doing business with a company because it has a cyber breach, that you're got this high and mighty that, oh my God, we should get rid of Windows 10 because it's end of life. There's a lot of high and mighty, better than thou mentalities in cybersecurity when nothing Nothing is safe forever. Well, that was an awesome soapbox for the morning. Thank you very much for that, WireDogSec. There's nothing to talk about. Yay, F5 got popped. Cool, they were in there for a year. Wow, that sucks for F5. Back to business as usual, chat. Back to business as usual. What was that? Sorry, I had you turned down really low. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Didn't SolarWinds go bankrupt? Hey, has anybody checked SolarWinds stock value lately? The only thing bad that happened to SolarWinds, and I think this was the interesting that came out of the SolarWinds thing. This what caught my attention coming out of the SolarWinds thing. The CISO got sued. So yeah, obviously that perked up my ears seeing the CISO get sued for a cyber attack. Anybody not hear that story? Anybody not hear that story? The CISO got civilly charged for lying to the street. No, we're talking about SolarWinds. I pivoted a little bit on SolarWinds. The SolarWinds CISO got civilly charged for lying to the street about the status of their security controls. That's an interesting precedent right there. That's an interesting precedent. That's one I've been watching. Yeah, it got dropped in court. Nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever came of it. That's right. APT. Listen, BeardSec is behind me with the shovel and coal, pouring more coal on the fire. WireDogSec, like F5 stock dropped 10%. Yes, so did Target's in the quarter right after their breach, and now they're at all-time highs. You know what that says? Take your money, go buy F5 stock, because you know what? That's called a dip, and it'll go back up. Hashtag not financial advice. I'm not a registered financial advisor, blah, 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 blah. That's right. Hashtag not financial advice. The stock thing is like, Jeff and I have an ongoing bet. I think it was a year ago when they mandated that 8Ks have to have material cyber breaches associated with them. Maybe it's 2 years ago. I can't remember. One of the first companies to put on there that they had a material cyber breach was Vans, the shoe company. And Jeff and I have a multi-year bet where I told him, I said the Vans stock will go back up despite their cyber breach. He was like, no, Vans is doomed. Vans is going out of business. Last time I checked, you can still go to the store and buy some Vans. Yeah, Cisco 0 day. A couple weeks ago, it was Fortinet 0 days. Like, this is another interesting trend, right? This is another interesting trend. I can honestly, and maybe it just feels like it, I can honestly say that there are more 0 days today, or at least there is a feeling that there are more 0 days today than any time in my cyber history. And I think I tell the story that when I was at the agency, right, we only kept a catalog, right, of about 20 to 25 0 days. And that felt super low to me. You know, I was like, man, how are we the NSA and we only have 20s when it came to 0 days? But man, I feel like we get a new 0 day every month. If it's a Fortinet one, it's like every couple weeks, type of thing. This has been a weird time in history. I'd love to see some metrics. I have no metrics on this. And you know me, I do love metrics to talk about. I don't have any metrics on this one. So I'd love if somebody could confirm or deny this, not with AI slop, right? Is there more 0 days now than there ever has been? I think that this is absolutely fair too, right? I think this isn't I don't think I disagree with this statement at all, Cyberties. There could indeed just be better reporting. We have better vulnerability disclosure programs. We have, a lot more folks that are trying to do more bug bounties. Like, the systems in place very, very much could be to produce more of them, which I don't think is bad or good. I'm not here to stand on a merit of whether I think that it's good or not. But man, I feel like 0 day is in the news way more than it ever has been in my cyber career. Yeah. But yeah, like, but that's why I said, I call it desensitizing, because that's really what's happening, right? Is that, like, yes, back in the day, if I remember, Google getting popped with a 0 day during Operation Aurora, right? And I remember just like, wow, that was absolutely amazing, right? That got pulled off. It was a thing to talk about. And now here we are, right? 0 days happening every week. Yeah, how much of the code that has 0 days recently has been written with AI assistance? 1,000%. Like, my aspiring hackers and pen testers in the channel, or even my defenders that want to go do something, now is the time to do bug bounty. Now is absolutely the time to do bug bounty. Bug bounty would be an amazing career if you targeted Y Combinator startups. I mean, hey, A16Z startups, like, go find all the startup accelerators. Don't extort them, chat. Responsibly and professionally talk to them about cybersecurity. But there are people who are, we've talked about it on this stream, there are people who are churning out apps left and right using vibe coded. And listen, I want to make it expressly clear, I'm not against vibe coding as much as Beardsec is when he realizes that it's going to be his future here before long. I think vibe coding is good, but just like anything else, security isn't front of mind when it comes to these people making money. Go get your cut of the dollar. Go do some bug bounties on some vibe-coded apps. I love that segue from Bay. Absolutely. This is one I did have on my list to talk about today. Since we have invoked the AI gods, there is a recent report out. University of Oxford, the UK AI Institute, Anthropic, these organizations together released a report. Now, this is directly tied to security and LLMs, saying that only 250 poisoned documents can backdoor models that are as low as 600 million from a token size and 300 billion from a token size parameter as well, right? It was believed for the longest time that the larger the parameter size, the more you needed to poison the model. And now they've come to find out that in some cases, in some models, as little as 250 bad documents, right? As little as 250 bad documents could be enough to poison a 13 billion parameter model. And so when we talk about things, so again, I may talk about the merits and the advantages of AI, right? But at the same time, we're pragmatists here on this channel, right? We talk about the good and the bad. Here's some of the bad right here. Content injection. Content injection is a real thing with the models, and it can be as little as 250 malicious artifacts going into. So now let's pull this into our APT conversation. If I'm an APT and I want to poison a company's model, and let's say it's 250 documents, do you think that I poison a model by uploading 250 malicious documents to be trained on in one setting? Or do you think I do it over the course of the year? Right? That's APT's mindset, is I could be here all year. I can feed you 1, 2, I can monitor your defenses, see if you notice that is happening. If you don't do anything about it, blah, 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 blah. I can start feeding you documents 1, 2, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, 5 at a time, whatever the case is. Eventually, they're going to get that malicious content put into the model, trained over the year. And now an APT has absolutely poisoned your internal model to leak your GitHub secrets, to leak your AWS secrets, to leak personal identifiable information, whatever the case is, all that stuff. Right? In as little as 250 documents. And that's an interesting, like, there's not a lot of checks for this. Thank you. I was literally exactly. How do you check for this? This is where, so again, I'm gonna take a moment to point to all of you, and I'll pick on Beard for just 1 second. He knows I love him, so I know he'll appreciate this, right? He drops that no AI meme to be funny and pick on the fact that it's getting shoved down his throat. And I appreciate that he is that way, because he is absolutely getting it shoved down his throat. But for the rest of you that take that mentality where it's like, fuck AI, I'm never going to talk to AI, I'm never going to use AI, AI is horrible, it's the most useless thing in the entire world, you're missing a giant opportunity to be the expert in pen testing for AI poisoning. You're missing being the expert for being one of the first AI pen testers to go out and determine if models are getting poisoned. Right? How do you check for it? This is where you have to check inputs and outputs, just like you would if it was a web app, right? Did you put in a prompt that asked it for something that was counter to your mission? Do you have guardrails in place on your model that says if somebody asks about PII, you under no certain terms release PII? Have you checked unrestrained models to see what type of data your unrestrained models? It's never too late to be the expert, E-Curve, but I appreciate you. There are more things useless than AI. Some of my exes come to mind. There's a lot of open source projects out there that you can get ahead of to kind of check out guardrails, and I'll try to consolidate in a list. I've got obviously a set of bookmarks that I've followed as well. Let's talk about NVIDIA really quick. I'm going to pivot on you. One of the only times that I will advocate for training is about to occur. One of the only times that I'm going to advocate for training is about to occur right now. I'm going to put some prefaces around this. First and foremost, rule number 1 is still in effect. Do the free shit first. Do the free shit first. The second one is, if you're going to pay for it, make sure you're getting value, right? Those have always been my rules. You go back for 5 years, those have always been my rules, right? Well, I stumbled upon NVIDIA's training library. And there is a mixture of free and paid education direct from NVIDIA. And I started to take some of it. I started to take some of the free stuff over the weekend after the golf tournament. It's written pretty well. I don't fundamentally hate it. I think it's good content. And if you're looking for free AI training, and by the way, you can get badges and certs around AI content as well, direct from NVIDIA. And so this is one of those times where it hits a lot of my check boxes. They have free stuff available. It's from a reputable vendor. I mean, it's direct from NVIDIA, who is arguably leading the race, right? When it comes to understanding how all AI works. They're at the core of almost everything from a chipset perspective. If you're in networking, you can appreciate that we talk about the fundamentals with CCNA and CCIE and Network Plus and A Plus and stuff like that as being, foundational knowledge points. This is like getting the A Plus and the Net Plus for AI training. This is like getting the A Plus and the Network Plus for AI training. And like I said, they have a mixture of free. They have a mixture of low cost. I saw some of them were $90 courses, $80 courses, things like that. There's one on building. There's one on agents that I'm actually going to take, but they, at some point in time, you actually have to go. You have to take like an on-course site to. I forget which one it is. There's one for, so like this is a free one. Building RAG agents with LLMs. Like everybody should go take this one. Everybody should go take building RAG agents with LLMs, right? Generative AI with diffusion models. Maybe you want to take that one because you're interested in it. Sonic, I know you've talked a little bit about things like that. That one's $90, right? They've got sizing LLM inference systems, which is super huge if you're doing any type of AI architecture. That one's only $30. They have exploring adversarial machine learning. What does that sound like to a lot of you guys, right? I mean, we could read the course description here for this, right? Topics covered. Model evasion. NVIDIA is teaching a course on model evasion. Generating a sample to intentionally get misclassified while preserving some other properties. Model extraction. Inversion. The process of inverting a model in order to get a representation of the training data. Poisoning. LLM attacks. Right? If I was going to pay for a course, and I will pay for this one, I will pay $90 to NVIDIA to take their Exploring Adversarial Machine Learning course. It's not about whether they're hurting or not. It's about whether I think that I can get value from them, and I'd rather give it to them than to some schmuck on Udemy who watched somebody else's YouTube video or asked AI to code the course for them. So, yes, the new NVIDIA CPU is awesome. I actually looked at one last night. I'm in the process of submitting a request for capital expenditure to the CEO of the Cyber Insecurity business for a Spark. We'll see how it goes. But yes, that's one of the few times. That's one of the few times that I will absolutely endorse training, but it meets a lot of my criteria. It meets a lot of my criteria. All right. Not sure. Question from the audience. Jose says, hello, sir. Question. If I could ask you your thoughts on Ubisoft and EA and the problem they have lately. I'm not 100% sure of the problem they have lately other than greed and their inability to keep their games, to keep hackers out of their games. Like the problems with EA and Ubisoft extend probably well beyond anything, cyber related and more just that they have shitty business practices. Any thoughts about Notebook LLM? Notebook LLM gets a 10 of 10 stars. CyberSec Mom, I just saw the question. Thank you so very much for your question. I always appreciate seeing you in chat every Friday morning. Notebook LLM gets 10 of 10, gets a pass in my book. I think Notebook LLM is one of those fantastic ways. If you're an auditory learner, if you enjoy consuming your content through audio, Notebook LLM can be a fantastic way for you to take written content, take ideas, and have a model effectively create an auditory base for the content. So if you are an auditory learner, I highly recommend Notebook LLM. I've seen people, talk about, taking the blogs that they write. Interesting idea. I'll leave it out there for the community to kind of decide if they want to go about it. But right, if you've got a lot of blogs, Callie, I know you have written before a lot of content, from a written perspective. Sonic, I think you had talked about standing up a blog as well. Imagine you've got, blog content. What if you were to turn it into small, short podcast formats by taking it over to LLM, having the prompt voice over that content and turn it into like a mini podcast? It doesn't have to be an hour long. It could be 10, 15-minute snippets of a podcast to turn that that blog content into auditory stuff, put it up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever the case is, and have you an auditory way for people to consume your content. You might be surprised at how much more of an audience you can reach. Not that that's your goal. I'm just saying, folks who may not be able to read your content, you might be able to reach them and have them hear your content as well. I saw this one. I invoked the crypto gods. We're on a coffee chat. We're less than an hour in and we're out of coffee. It's going to be that kind of day for caffeine. It's always been suspected because Ethereum contracts are basically code bases, right? When you write Ethereum, Solana's the same way, you're effectively writing a program. And the contracts execute when they're run. It is not a new tactic to embed malicious artifacts into cryptocurrency contracts that execute on chain. The one recently, there was a really, really, really recent one against a major exchange. The one that required, it was a multi-sig. It was one of the first multi-sig hacks that had happened out there, where they had basically, hacked one of the lead, signatories on a multi-sig Ethereum contract that led to the exfiltration of a ton of funds from an Ethereum contract. One of the reasons why, again, I told you guys not to sleep on, if you were a hacker and you wanted to practice your, practice your bug bounty skills, Ethereum and Solana contracts are ripe with programming vulnerability opportunities. Yeah. DPRK has the crypto industry on lock. I mean, listen, make no mistake about it. For all again, back to crypto nihilist, right? If it wasn't so profitable, the entirety of North Korea wouldn't be out there devoting entire hacking teams to funding their entire country through crypto hacks. If you've not done any research, go research how North Korea has basically done their entire GDP off of crypto hacks. They have come a long way. I can remember bumping into North Korean APT in the late 2010s, right before I got out of the military. And I'm telling you, these guys were using shitty obfuscated Metasploit droplets as payloads. Right? That was how they started. And now they are the number one hackers especially around crypto exchanges. I'm not going to say they're better than China or Russia from an APT perspective, but if you're in the crypto space, your number one most wanted is a DPRK hacker. Absolutely. Absolutely. They've come a long way. I'm like, they come a long way. No, it ain't like that. They're definitely moving along. Any thoughts on the NSO acquisition? I've kind of like lost track of NSO. If NSO is getting acquired, it's probably just more of. It's not the first time a privatized intelligence company has been acquired. It should come as no shocker that there is an industry and a business practice around privatized intelligence. There is nothing illegal about privatized intelligence. This is why it's challenging to argue the NSO conversation, right? Private intelligence, like I can remember buying from private intelligence companies in the military. I sat down with a company. They're a vastly different company now. Oh, the U.S. investor? I do know what you're talking about then. I do know what you're talking about. I thought this was post that one. The company that we bought stuff from one time has since been acquired by a large, very well-known SIM vendor. That's all I'll say to narrow that one down. And they don't do anything like they used to do when they were in the military. Right? But there was a company that we used to buy privatized intelligence weapon systems, for lack of a better word, off of when we were in the military. So I have mixed opinions on this. If you're talking about the one where they got bought by a U.S. investor, where they're predominantly being bought by a U.S. investor, I have mixed thoughts, right? So the hesitation is that there's a lot of mixed thoughts on a lot of this, right? So first and foremost, you have to understand. I believe you have to believe in something. And part of what I believe in is you have to believe in the system. So them being bought by a U.S. investor, means that, the U.S. government has more access to them. And let me remind everybody, we're not a political channel. We don't talk about politics. We talk about cyber. We talk about implications from a cyber perspective, things like that. So we're not here to discuss politics, and we try to edge closely on not going into conspiracy theory rabbit holes as much as we absolutely can. So let's say that. Let's get those disclaimers out of the way. With that being said, if a U.S. company holds the majority investment in a company like NSO, that doesn't inherently mean that the FBI is going to use it to spy on its citizens. The FBI cannot conduct any surveillance without a warrant to do so. You can have all the conspiracy theories that you want. You can have all the whatabouts that you want. I can tell you from working closely with the FBI on cyber-related activities, there were... God. I'm trying to think of one of the examples that I have in my head, if it's expressly forbidden for me to talk about. There was an opportunity for me to create a mechanism to go after a certain class of criminals. I worked with my counterparts, right? And they loved the idea technologically, But they were like, we can't execute this because it violates so many civil rights. Like, we would never be able to prosecute anything, Neal, with what you were doing because we didn't have probable cause to point you at what these individuals were doing. And I was like, probable cause? I'm seeing it in the wild, in front of my eyes, in plain sight. And they're like, yeah, Neal, but we didn't have probable cause to look in that direction. This was within the last 3 years. This is within the last 3 years. And so, yes, I know. I saw the if you know, so they say, fix it. Thank you so very much for the raid. It's good to see you, and it's good that you were streaming today. I'm glad to know that you're feeling better. My thoughts and prayers go out to you. I'm so glad that you're feeling better. I'm so glad you're back. And again, I can appreciate the skepticism on the so they say when it comes to, you know, that they can't investigate you without a warrant. But I can tell you, having lived that, as with anything else, it is 99.9% true. Is there 1% where maybe there's some shady shit going on? Absolutely. There's shady shit that goes on in cyber. There's shady shit that goes on in finance. There's shady shit that goes on down at the construction site down the road from the house. There is shady shit that happens everywhere, every day. Right? But what I'm here to tell you is that 99.999% of the time, they can't even look at bad shit that they see in plain sight because it violates your constitutional rights to do so. And so, I say all that to say, do I think it's interesting that the U.S. is acquiring, or let's just say that there are U.S. investors that are acquiring privatized intelligence? It's not that surprising. Do you know how much money there is to be made in a government? And again, non-political. This is not a political statement by any stretch of the imagination. It is very well known in the United States that the Conservative Party is far more militaristically rich than the Democratic Party. That's not a political statement. That's not a political stance. That's nothing other than just that is a pure historical fact. And so, of course, if there's an investor that's looking for an opportunity to make some money, and there is a militaristically favorable administration in place, it makes absolutely sense for them to invest in something and to be able to turn around and use their contacts in the government to try to get DoD contracts. Again, it boils down to business, right? These deals aren't getting made because they're out to get Americans. These deals are being made because they see an opportunity to make a shit ton of money. Like, there isn't an investor. I have interacted with the CIA's shell company that goes out and invests in research in upcoming technologies that could be beneficial to the U.S. government. I've worked with DARPA before as well, right? And yes, those government organizations have interest in these companies because those companies could be of interest to national security, but not for the sake of like, oh, the government's going to acquire that. That is a technology that we're going to invest in because it gives us more militaristic capabilities. But at the end of the day, it is all about money. It is all about money. Long-winded way to say privatized intelligence isn't going anywhere. Privatized intelligence has been around since before I was in this game, right? And so I say all that to really say like if you stay away from the conspiracy theories, you could really understand this is just about money. There is tons of like everybody's military budget, even NSO, right? The reason NSO was so successful is because they sold to other governments' militaries. Privatized intelligence is a place to make a fuck ton of money. Every country has a national defense budget, right? So Business 101, right? We're query, right? I'll use query as an example. We're going after a budget in an enterprise, right? An enterprise has to allocate a budget to buy query. Now, we can either take from an existing budget, or we can ask a company to create a new line item for query. Which do you think is easier in a company? Creating net new budget or asking for existing budget? Right? Asking for existing budget is always easier. Well, expand that out to military. Every country has every country has a defense budget. There's no net new for that. And so, yes, there's a shit ton of money to be made in privatized intelligence. And that's fine. You know, again, stand on your morals and ethos. I'm not here to debate whether your morals and ethos are right or wrong. I'm not here to say that, like, the entirety of the cybersecurity community or the entirety of the people who listen to my voice should have the exact same ethics. Ethics are a personal choice. Ethics are a personal choice. If I had it to do all over again, I'd go right back to working for the government, right? I'd go back to working for the government before I realized how much money I could make on the outside. I wouldn't go back to the government now, but it has nothing to do with ethics, has nothing to do with hating the government, has nothing to do with thinking the NSA's spying on Americans, has everything to do with the fact that I like money and I make a shit ton of it on the outside. But if I had not seen that light in 2013 and I had not blown out my knee in 2013, I'd have stayed in for another 10 years. Ethics are a personal decision. You have to decide where your ethical line is. That's what makes us human. Nobody can tell you whether yours are right or wrong. They are yours and yours alone to make. I fully believe that. You don't have to agree with everybody's. I don't have to agree with yours. You don't have to agree with mine. That's what makes humanity great, is the openness to disagree. Would I go work for NSO? In a fucking heartbeat. Absolutely. No qualms. No qualms. Question, I'm attending a 2-day B-Sides event. What should I do to up my networking game? Any tips on what to do or what not to do? Go to LinkedIn. I just got told that I got the 9-minute warning. Oh shit! I was looking at it on that screen when you deleted it. What can I do to up my networking game? If B-Sides is in 2 days, go put a post up on LinkedIn today. Go put a post up on LinkedIn today. Tell your entire community, however big your network is, that you're going to be at B-Sides and that you want to meet people, and ask people, have a call to action that encourages people to reach out to you ahead of the event so that you can start to get networking done before you ever show up at the conference. My number one thing with conferences is always get your networking done before you show up at the conference, right? That way you have meetings lined up on who you're going to network with while you're at the conference, right? That is the biggest key to success when going to these conferences, is getting that networking thing done ahead of time. As Beardsec says, if there are other people, usually you can use like hashtag B-Sides RDU, B-Sides, KC, B-Sides, Dallas, whatever the case is, on X or on LinkedIn, and find people who are going to those events. Reach out to them personally on LinkedIn and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be at B-Sides. Would you be interested in a conversation? Right? Can I get 5 minutes of your time just to introduce myself? The best networking at a conference happens in the days, weeks, and months leading up to that conference. That's how you up your networking game ahead of the conference. Your mentality at conference should be you've already got it scheduled out. Now, I say that bigger conferences like Black Hat and DEF CON, I'll usually leave blocks of my time for people to, last minute take up blocks of my time. Like, hey, Neal, I just saw you, or I just saw your LinkedIn post, or hey, I was walking the floor and I bumped into somebody I hadn't seen in a number of years. I'll block off parts of my time where it's like, okay, let's go have a drink, or let's go do this here, right? Things like that, right? So all of that has to happen before you get to B-Sides or whatever conference you're going to, so that when you're there at the conference, you're executing, and if you bump into people, then you've got the extra time slots and things like that. But I'm excited. Great question. Great thought on where your head's at. Make the most out of it. Networking in person is going to be, especially in this job market, the best thing that you can do currently to secure yourself a job. Bring extra water? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, bring a water bottle. Bring a giant water bottle. B-Sides is a cool thing. Like, I will always support smaller conferences. I think all the big conferences have gotten way too mainstream. Everybody should be supporting their local events. Down with the national events. Everybody should be supporting their local events. All right, chat. I know it was a short stream today. I apologize, but I've got to go sit on my day of miserable back-to-backs. I was not going to not stream today. No matter hell or high water, I was coming here to chat with you today. Hell or high water. We will be back on Monday. We will have the threat brief with Jason on Monday. Make sure you're here 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Monday for a threat brief. I got a tournament on Sunday. Thanks to everybody who shows up in my DMs frequently to wish me luck for my tournaments. I got another tournament on Sunday. Hopefully we could pull in first place, even though I took second last weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I love you guys. You guys are the best. You guys are the fucking best. Oh, that's the one I was going to tell you. All right, last one. Hold on. I got one more. Because last week, last week, somebody felt the need to tell me how gratuitously vulgar I was. And as irony would have it, a fantastic meme showed up on my Instagram from a motivational speaker that says, cursing is rarely a symbol of low class. It's often a mark of high authenticity. Evidence. Swearing predicts higher rates of honesty and integrity. It signals a willingness to prize candor over courtesy. A little profanity shows that you're being real and you give a damn. For those of you who think that I'm a little crass, a little gratuitously vulgar, that's just my candor and courtesy shining through to you every single time we chat. I love you guys. You guys are fucking awesome. You guys are the best community ever. Whether you're on the red side or the blue side or still deciding, keep learning. And we'll see you on Monday.